Akashvadantoham. I'm just reciting. You see, there is a difference between recitation and singing. Normally, people do not understand this difference. Recitation of these verses should be without any musical instrument. Here also and in India also, everyone has started adding the musical instruments in recitation. So that recitation should be done with awareness on each and every word, and it clears. So today we are going to do the sixth chapter. Akasha vadantoham ghatvat prakratam jagata iti jnanam tathetasya natyago nagrahu layah. So as we understand that this master is talking about mindfulness or meditation here and now, means no practice is required. So it's all about knowledge, understanding, and clarity. This is the theme of this entire teaching by one of the great masters, Astavakra, to sixth chapter, first verse, Kate. I have seen your book. I have the same book. So from there we Akashvadantoham Ghatvat Prakratam Jagata. What a beautiful iti jnanam tathe tasya natyago nagrahu layah. So if we remember, why I say so, you all are seekers, so you remember. So the last fifth chapter, we learned that there are four ways to be in mindfulness here and now without any practice. So the first was a complete dispassion awakens. Complete 100% dispassion leads to a mindfulness state. That was the first method Master talked about. So when there is a complete dispassion, there is no likes and dislikes, there is no small and big, there is no rich and poor in my mind. That mind reaches to the purest state, and that awakens us to the real self. The second approach, he says, constant awareness of the real self behind the veil. What that means? Simple. Do I have a simultaneous awareness of the waves on the surface and the water behind? I need to be aware of that water is the essence and the waves, they appear and disappear. Look at the second method. Third method, he says there should be a complete discernment. What is real and what is unreal. So that also leads us to a meditative state. And the fourth one, he said, what he said, equal in pain and pleasure. Last time we covered sama dukkha sukha purnam, equal in hope and in disappointment, equal in life and in death. What is that equanimity? Means that state of the consciousness cannot be influenced by likes and dislikes. Water in essence, cannot be influenced by a storm or tsunami, or we say the impure water. So, why we return to the fifth chapter? Because in the sixth chapter, he is explaining how to do the practices on each one of the method or the meditative technique. So, if we look at the uh, fifth chapter, which is, yeah, that was the complete dispassion. Complete dispassion, my friends. So, complete dispassion. Uh, so, with a reference to the complete dispassion, now this verse, Akasha vadantoham ghatvat prakratam jagata iti jnanam tathaitasya na tyagu na grahu layah. First thing, did we understand complete dispassion, discernment? We are aware of the six treasures and we have an intense desire for awakening in meditation. That is the first chapter I am repeating. So now, if I translate this verse, what it simply says, I am limitless like space. By nature, the manifested world is jar like. This is knowledge. What he says, this is knowledge. Therefore, for this self, there is neither renunciation, neither dispassion, nor possession, nor destruction. What it means? That he is indicating that during the day, at every moment, can I become aware of the space, limitless space, which is a container? I am a content in the space, inside and outside. Mind is also a content. So, can I maintain my awareness on the infinite, limitless space inside and outside that cannot be destroyed? That remains untouched. So, why to practice dispassion? Now, initially he says complete dispassion. Now he is telling us a method. So, what is the method? Can I maintain a simultaneous awareness of the changing and the unchanging reality? So, analogy here is that space is unchanging. That is the ultimate cause, and everything is changing outside: mind, body, intellect, relationship, everything. So, where the changes taking place, the changing, that every change is taking place in the space or on the space, but still the space is not affected. So, infinite space is very near to the real self. So, the master is suggesting, advising the seeker that remain simultaneously aware of the space. And today is 9/11. Something happened on 9/11, and we have built another structure, but the space remained the same. Just I remember, I saw 9/11. So now to understand first and live into that state all the time. What is changing is not me. Maintain your awareness. I'm speaking, changing, body is changing, mind is changing, intellect is changing, ego is changing, the world outside is changing. But one thing, that space, a reference point, is not changing. Can I maintain that awareness all the time? Have you seen the traditional Russian dolls? They are a representation of mother carrying the child within her. You you know the child appears very big, and you start removing, and you find ultimately the space. So here the word is used. We should not misunderstand, but we should understand. There is a word in yoga, we say laya yoga. Tyago nagraho layaha. Laya, the word means absorption. The waves in the water rise and disappear. Can I say the waves appear and then they are absorbed? Nothing happens to the water. Thought rise, thought merge into the mind. The body rises a human frame and the body falls, disappear. So here he is taking a simile that everything, whatever is changing, is happening on the space. Everything happening in the body, mind, intellect, and ego is happening on that real self. So, can I maintain, can I live into simultaneous awareness of the container and the content? The content is constantly changing and the container ever changes. So, here the container is the space. So, he says, once you are able to maintain simultaneous awareness, you don't need dispassion or discernment. But this is for the highest level of a seeker. This is for the highest level of a seeker. So that is why you see that in our tradition, we don't talk of the higher principles. Otherwise, those who are non seekers will misunderstand it. Oh, I have to do nothing, I'm aware of the space. You see that? No, no, I'm always aware of the space. One student I was talking to, Ashok, he has been with me for 20 years. So he took everything literally and he has gone wild. So he went to his wife more than 20 years ago. He said, I'm in the state of dispassion. What I have to do with you? So I'm just cautioning you by that example. Then divorce took place. Now they both approach me. I love both of them. What I have to do with one or the other. And then he went to my master and he forced the master that I want the orange robe. So he said, Master said, okay, you wear that orange robe. And then he told me, now I have become a monk. I'm not telling you the name. So you see that is why we do not talk of these higher principles. So that if you misunderstand, then you will say meditation is is harming me. So you have to be very clear. That is why Master says purify the mind, purify the intellect. So coming back, word dissolves. You see that what happens? What he says, Akash vadanto ham. I am like a limitless, like a space. So in that space, there is no trace of any thought that is causing likes and dislikes. We have to understand it clearly. The space cannot be affected by likes and dislikes. So the real self cannot be affected by likes and dislikes. Like waves appear and disappear. Like the same way we say like birth and the death takes place of the body, not of the real self. So Master is saying, this is the knowledge. I have to live into that awareness. It is clarity. So the Master says very clearly, this is the right knowledge, this is the clarity, this is meditation, this is awakening. Such a beautiful way he has put it. Iti jnanam tathetasya natyago nagraho layah. You don't need any kind of dispassion because you are already there. But if you are not a seeker, we have to continue the practice of discernment. We are not the highest level of a seeker. So we continue the journey of discernment, dispassion, six treasures. Otherwise, otherwise the mind will attach. That attachment remains, that is known as impurity. So that friend of mine, I was talking about him, he's still wandering. He's enjoying his life, wandering here and there. Now master is not no more there physically. So so his wife also calls me sometime and he also calls me. Sir, I'm in. Okay, I said yes. Very good. You are there. So remember this. I'm just cautioning you. We should not be carried away. Now, another thing that needs to be understood very clearly, that this false self cannot exist without the real self. It is always supported by the real self, like the blueness of a sky. Because if there is no sky, there is no blueness. Huh? There is no mirage, there is no water. There is no water, there is no waves. Where we are going, take your intellect. There is no real self, there is no body. That is why if someone dies, we say he has left. His body is still there. Do you see that? His body is still there. And still we say he has left. This is what, so once we live into that awareness, plus we continue, if I say so, meditate on the space. There's no meditation on the space. You are simultaneously aware of the space with that is unchanging reality. And whatever is changing, it is happening on the surface. The waves are happening on the surface of the water. The blueness of the sky is happening on the sky. So, but the sky supports the blueness. Why? Because of ignorance. Where is ignorance? Misunderstanding. What is misunderstanding? That is wrong notion created by the mind and the intellect. So that is why he says, if I live with the simultaneous awareness of the space, I see the false self and I also see this is not me. I see the body, the not me, where question comes of likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment. Mind, not me. Thought, not me. Intellect, not me. Ego, not me. What is the ultimate? That is what the master is saying. Keep your awareness on the space even while doing every activity in the waking state. And that leads us to the highest state of meditation. So, this is the first uh, method by an example from the fifth chapter, the complete dispassion. So, either we follow the practice, we should understand what is dispassion and we should apply in our life so that at least the mind gets purified. After that, we need to do only one thing, that is, maintain your awareness of the space. You see that how many times we are aware of the space, our mind is colored by the likes and dislikes. Say, for example, hatred for a person, and that person appears before you. We forget the space and we mind is colored by the hate. Have you seen that? We lose that awareness. So the master is saying, can you? Hatred is on the surface. The first is the space. us to this place. Ashok looks like a vampire, you know. You have closed your light? Yes, that's good. So can we say everything appears and disappears in the on the space? So here Master says that the mind cannot understand what is behind the mind, what is beyond the mind. Means when we transcend the mind, then only we meditate. But still he is trying to explain that everything appears and disappears on the space. The space is a silent witness. You Space is awareness and awareness is space. Take it that way. That space does not participate in our likes and dislikes. That space does not participate in categorizing, in classifying the knowledge of the world outside. The space remains as a witness. What do you mean by witness? It is unchanging. It has a perception. It is pure consciousness. So when there is a pure consciousness as a witness, so Master says, maintain your awareness of the space inside, outside, everywhere. And continue your working. Continue to live your life. You will discover that you need not to practice dispassion and discernment. You are already there. You are living in meditation. You are speaking out of meditation. You are thinking from that meditative state. Space is a silent witness. Meditation on the space. Akash vadanto ham ghatvat prakratam jagata. Akash. There is another example Master gives. You take a tumbler, so there is a space inside and there is a space outside. Are these two spaces different? Are there two spaces or it is only one? It appears two, but essentially it is one. It appears two, but essentially the space is not divided. Same way, the real self, that pure consciousness, cannot be divided. It is divided because mind does not have that dispassion, or the mind has a wrong notion. Take another example. We say living being, non-living being. That is how we explain all the objects in the universe and the world. They are non-living being. There is a living being. What is common? Being is common. Can I see that? What is that being? That being is consciousness. Non-living being. Then we have a plant. But then can the material non-living being realize that they don't have a fit instrument? They don't live in higher self-awareness. They don't have an intellect. What about plants? They have a life, but they don't have a perfect instrument of the mind. Animal being, their intellect and the mind is limited by the nature. They are pre-programmed. You can say they are Windows by default, computer by default. Every time they wake up, they have four instincts by default: sex, safety, food, and sleep. They don't want to be a millionaire. And last time I was saying, they are 100% programmed. The cows never hate the tiger because he's eating flesh. And the tiger has nothing to do with the cows, whether they are eating grass or whatever you eat. They are programmed. What is the difference? Human being. That human frame is given. So we define the human frame. The last point, we define the human frame That who has a head on the top, who has two hands and two legs. Even the monkeys can use the two legs as hands, but they are not actually hands. They are not actually arms. So we define the vertical, and another point that we say, the vertical spine, that is representation of higher self-awareness, free intellect, which can observe, which can choose, and it can make a decision. What choose? I can make a decision carried away by the likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, high and low. You see that? I can brand, you are rich, I am poor, so I get frustrated. Another chain of thoughts. You are more beautiful, I am less, than again chain of thoughts in the mind. You look at the importance of dispassion. Look at this importance of dispassion. Now, what it has to do when I say brand is more beautiful than me? It's totally different aspect, but still the mind carries these thoughts. And then it, what happens? This is a wrong notion. Then what happens? Then we carry these wrong notions. 10 years ago, I have some past memories that returned. Christina is laughing. What I have to do with it? I'm attached to it. That is why I was calming down, and it takes a week to calm down. What I am the infinite space. This is the method Astavakra talks about it. That can I live in simultaneous awareness of the ultimate cause and the secondary causes. Ultimate cause is the real self. Secondary is my mind, my intellect, my body, plus likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment. When I live into that awareness, that is knowledge, that is complete dispassion, that is mindfulness, that is awakening. Keep a smile, Kate, and let us start our practice. Now, let us do some practice also.